Fine. So welcome to day 3 of the training. Okay. What I'll do is in my source folder I'll create a new interface today. Alright. Fine. Many people are saying that they did not get reference library section. Thing is, this is the reference library section. In this you get the jar files when you add the project, when you create a project. Okay. The thing is, to get the reference library section inside Eclipse, you need to be inside the Java perspective. There are various perspectives inside Eclipse. This is the icon, fine. This one, okay. When you click on this icon, select other, and then select Java from here. Alright. So you will get the reference library section. Make sure this section will come only if you have added the jar files. If you have not added the jar file, this section will not come. Alright, if you have not added the jar files of Selenium, this section will not come. Fine. Now today I'll be talking about the concept of interfaces in Java language, and then I'll tell you how the interfaces are used. Okay. Now suppose I create a new interface, not a class, fine, but a new interface, and in the interface, like I name my interface as mobile phone. Okay. Right. Now what is an interface? An interface is just like the outline. The outline, spelling mistake. Mobile phone. Okay. Right. There is a question being asked. What difference? When you ask a question, please, I would request you direct it to everyone in the chat so that everyone is able to see the question. Okay. The question which is being asked is, what is the difference when you create a class? When you create class, when click to source or default package, it's the same. If you right click on default or you right click on source and create the class, it's the same. Okay, it doesn't make a big difference. Okay, now what is an interface? An interface is something which gives you the outline of the application. Okay, for example, when you have a book in front of you, okay, what do? You look at the index of the book, right, to check what all topics are covered in the book. You don't directly start reading the book. Fine. So interface is something like the index. Okay. Or when you go to some restaurant to have dinner, fine. You look at the a la carte menu. You look at the menu and you see that fine. These are all the dishes available in for the dinner, and you can have them. So that menu is like a interface to you, which tells you what the restaurant is offering. Okay, you don't know how they are preparing the food, you don't know anything, but you just know the names of the various dishes which you can have, right? So similarly, interface over here gives you the outline of the application. In the interface, I can give the features of mobile phone. For example, public void talk, fine, public void text. Fine, just keeping two features. So you have just a function declarations inside interface. You don't have the body. Okay, you don't have the body of the functions inside the interface. Just by looking at the interface, you will come to know what the mobile phone is supposed to do. Okay, now suppose I have a class named as Nokia. Nokia is a interface. Sorry, Nokia is a class, right? And it's obviously a mobile phone. Fine. Void means it will return nothing. Every function can return something, right? Void means that this function will not return anything. Okay. I would request everybody to do one thing, that is go to my website, utpselenium.com, right? And watch the first two training videos. It will help you a lot, especially the second one. Fine. These are free ones. They will help you a lot. Okay. So these are the two functions, talk and text, inside the mobile phone interface. And Nokia.java is a class, fine, which represents the Nokia mobile phone. Okay. Now out here you can write public class Nokia implements mobile phone. When you write implements mobile phone, it is mandatory for you to implement all the functions inside the mobile phone interface. Okay. Nokia is a class, right? So this class is implementing this interface. So it is mandatory for it to implement all the functions. Otherwise, you'll get an error. Fine. You move your mouse over the error and select add unimplemented methods, and both the methods talk and text will be added inside this class. Inside the talk, I can write Nokia talking. Just a minute, I can hear two voices. Just hold on, I think everybody is on mute. No, Hariharan. Make sure you don't have any electronic equipment near your PC. Okay, that sometimes creates a lot of problem. Okay. Yes, public. Yes, Kumar. In the interface. Yes. Okay. Now text. I'll write over here Nokia sending text. Okay. Fine. So these signs over here override means that these functions are coming from the interface. Even if you remove them, it will not make a big difference, right? But these functions, they are a kind of marker. Sorry, these annotations. These are known as annotations. Override. Technically, these are known as annotations. These annotations, they kind of tell you that these functions are actually coming over from the interface. Okay, so you just keep them, let them stay as they are. If a layman is looking at the code, he will come to know just by looking at these functions. That's fine. They are coming from the interface mobile phone. Okay, now let us make another class named as iPhone. Now iPhone is also a phone, right? So you'll write over here implements mobile phone. Okay, now it becomes mandatory for iPhone for also to implement the functions. Okay, you cannot just say that I will just implement one function, you will get an error. It is mandatory for you to implement all the functions if you are implementing the interface. Okay, you can write over here system.out.println iPhone talking and iPhone sending text. Okay, so you have a scenario wherein you have an interface and you have two classes, right? Mobile phone and iPhone implementing. Sorry, not the mobile phone, Nokia. Oh, just a minute. Nokia and iPhone implementing the interface mobile phone. Okay, so both these classes, they are implementing the interface mobile phone. Okay, this arrow is the sign of implementation technically. Okay, if you see a diagram like this anywhere in any book, right, This arrow represents that this class is implementing this interface. Generally, it is dotted, not one. Generally, it is written in dotted in case of interfaces. Okay. Now, what is the use of this kind of structure? Why have I made this kind of structure? What is the use? Okay. I could have not created the interface, just created these two classes. Right. Now, the use is that this kind of structure gives the uniformity to your application. You have the same function names in Nokia as well as iPhone. The function names will remain the same. Okay, right? Sorry. Even if tomorrow a new class, guys, just there's a question being asked. Can you show interface again? I saw the functions in the interface are blank. Is this normal? Yes, this is normal. That's what the interface is. Interface is just like the declaration of the functions. You don't write any function names inside the interface. The interface will tell you just what the application is supposed to do. It will not implement. Implementation is done by the classes which implement the interface. Okay, but the thing is, this kind of, yeah, the functions are always public. It depends. Void. Void is the return type. You can make it int or something other, some other return type if you want. Okay, but the functions have to be public. Every function has a return type, right? Please watch the training video too on the website. You will come to know what is a return type. Okay, so it depends what return type you want. An interface cannot implement any other interface. It is not possible. An interface will always be implemented by other classes. Fine. Okay. So now the usage. What is the usage of interface over here? I could have never created the interface. Okay. Sorry. I could have never created the interface. Right. I could have just kept the classes, but interface gave a structure to the application. We have the same function names, right? The names of the functions, they remain same. That's the advantage. Tomorrow if another mobile phone comes up, say Samsung mobile, it will also have the same functions, although the implementation of each and every function can be different for different classes, right? But the names will remain same. Okay, fine. If I create a new class known as mobile test, okay, inside this I can create the object of any class. I can create the object of iPhone I equals to new iPhone, and I can create the functions iPhone dot talk, iPhone dot call, sorry, text. Fine. Similarly, you can create the object mobile phone, sorry, Nokia, n equals to new Nokia, right? N dot, you can write text, n dot talk. Functions will remain same, but this will call the function inside iPhone and this will call the function inside Nokia. So when you run this code, so you'll see that. Okay, fine. Question being asked is, so one class can implement multiple. Yes, one class can implement multiple interface. Suppose you have to make iPhone implement multiple interfaces, you just put comma and give the names of multiple interfaces, but you will have to implement all the functions. Okay, One class can implement multiple interfaces. Alright. Now, how are interfaces used in Selenium? Why do we need to learn this? Look, the thing is, interfaces, they are very important part of object-oriented programming. Fine. So if you actually go to the website Selenium HQ, right? And if we go to the download link over here, fine. This is the download link, right? You go here and you will see there's a Java doc link. Fine. We were studying this link, right? We were having access to this link, right? This link has got all the classes. Now in this, whatever is there in italics, which whatever name is there in italics, for example, mouse. This is an interface. Okay, whatever is written in italics. These are the functions in the interface: click, context click, double click, mouse down, mouse move. So these are the functions related to mouse of your system. Okay, and these are the two classes which are implementing this interface in event firing mouse and HTML mouse. Okay, now everybody has heard about WebDriver. You must have heard about WebDriver, right? What is WebDriver? Technically, WebDriver is nothing but an interface. Okay, it's an interface which has got function like close. This will close the current window of the browser. Find element. This function will find an object on the page like a button, a link, or something like that. Okay. Get. Get is a function which will take you to the particular URL. Fine. Then get current URL. This will give you the current URL of the browser. Get title. Get page source. I think these names are self-explanatory. Get title will get to the title of the page. Quit will close the browser. Fine. So there are various functions in this interface WebDriver. And what all are the classes implementing these interfaces? Right? Yeah. So these are the functions. Yes. So Ganti, these are the functions for WebDriver. Okay, this is the starting point of the architecture of WebDriver. If somebody asks you, explain me the architecture of WebDriver, okay, then you know what? The first thing which you can tell them is that WebDriver is an interface. Okay, and these all are the classes implementing the interface. Android driver, Android WebDriver, Chrome driver, right? Event firing driver. We talked about them yesterday, right? Firefox driver, right? iPhone, Safari, right? Internet Explorer driver. So all these drivers are implementing this interface. Yes, all the drivers implement one interface known as WebDriver. The reason behind that is the same reason why all the mobile phones, iPhone, Nokia, are implementing the mobile phone interface. It is because so that they have a genuinity, they have a kind of a structure, that is the functions inside the classes, the names, they remain same. So whatever functions are there in Android driver or Firefox driver from this interface will be there in Internet Explorer driver as well, and all the other drivers. Okay, so this way you end up giving a structure to the complete API or complete project. Tomorrow, if suppose a new driver comes up, a new browser is launched in the market, right? So that driver will also have same set of functions inside. right? That driver will also have same set of functions inside it. So you really don't have to worry. For example, Safari driver is new. It just came up. It came up after Selenium was launched. In the beginning, when WebDriver was not launched, Safari driver was not there. It just came up. So Safari driver will also have the same set of functions. Alright, fine. So this means that if we have to click on a link in IE, the command will be same in all the browsers. Fine. I'll talk about it. Just hold on. Fine. I think this thing is clear, right? Kumar, I will not talk about nested classes. I will not talk about that right now. Okay. I'll not talk about right now. It will confuse you. I'm just going to cover interfaces as of now. These are the nested classes. Okay, hold on. I'll tell you. Right now, in the interface, right? If you actually look at yesterday's code, then I was using the get function with Firefox driver as well as Chrome driver as well as iDriver. The same get function was used to navigate to different websites in all the three browsers. This is because all the three browsers, they implement the same interface. So they have the get function implemented in them. The get function is actually there in the WebDriver interface. Okay, right? If I have to, hold on, I'll uncomment this. Hold on. Right? If you hit Control Shift O of your keyboard, everything would be imported automatically. Like sometimes you get a file and you get the errors, right? You have to import the files, right? Move your mouse, import them, right? Instead of this, if you hit Control plus space plus O of keyboard, everything would be imported automatically. You see that? I hit Control Shift O and Control Shift O. Okay, everything would be imported. Right now, all the three functions, these classes are implementing the same interface. That's why they have the get function. If you have to close the browser, you can write f.quit. Quit will close the session. So in Chrome driver also you have the quit function. In iDriver also you have the quit function. And in HTML unit driver also you have the quit function. So you really don't have to worry whether these files will have same or different sets of functions. Okay. Now, coming over to today's project, right? Now, I'll open mobile test.java, right? Okay. I'm creating the objects of the classes which are implementing the interface like this. iPhone I equals new iPhone, Nokia N equals to new Nokia, right? Now, suppose iPhone class says that it also implements some custom functions which are not there in all the other phones. For example, public void imaps. Fine. The function like imaps, right? Fine. So you can have a class implementing a custom function of its own as well, which is not coming from the interface, right? In this class, you can call that function as well. You can write that iPhone.imaps. You can do that. When you run this, this will print maps iPhone out here in the output. Okay. So this one is a custom function, right? Now what we'll see is that we'll see another way to create the object. right? What I'll do is I'll write over here, just listen to this carefully. Mobile phone M equals to new Nokia. Hold on. And mobile phone M2 equals to new iPhone. Now out here I am writing something little different. Okay, what I'm writing interface name reference equals to new class which is implementing the interface. I'm writing the whole thing a little differently out here. This is the interface reference equals to new class which is implementing the interface. This line is different than this line. Out here the class name reference equals to new class name. Okay, out here the interface name reference equals to new interface. What is the difference between this and this? With this I can access the functions, right, which are there in you can say mobile phone the interface and which are implemented in the class. You cannot access custom functions with this. For example, I'll just show you. You write m2.talk and m2.text. If you write like this, then you can call the talk and text functions with m2 inside the iPhone class. If I'll just print a star over here to segregate this thing. When you run this, this will print iPhone talking, iPhone sending text. Right? I'm using the M2 object over here. M2 is pointing towards iPhone object. Okay. Now, but you cannot write M2 dot IMAPS. This will throw an error. Okay. When you are working like this, right? When you are writing the interface name equals to new class which is implementing the interface, you only have access to those functions which are coming from the interface and being implemented inside the class. Right? Now what is the advantage of this? The advantage is that I can dynamically point the reference to any object. If I write over here mobile phone M equals to null. What does this mean? This means that in the memory there is a reference M which is not pointing anywhere. M is not pointing anywhere. Right? In the next line I can write M equals to new Nokia. Depending on my requirement, I can make it point towards Nokia. So this mobile phone object reference will point towards the Nokia object. Or in the next line I can also write like this, M equals to iPhone, new iPhone. So I remove this from Nokia and I am pointing it towards iPhone now. So what will happen is that in the memory this will stop pointing here and it will start pointing towards the new object of iPhone. Fine. This is the advantage. You can dynamically move this handle or move this reference to a new object. Okay. Fine. But with this you can only access those functions which are coming up from the interface. You cannot access the local functions of the classes. Alright. Fine. Now how does it help us? What is the advantage of writing like this? I hope everybody is understanding this. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me. Please feel free to ask me any questions if you have. Right? What I'll do is I'll create a new class known as Selenium Browsers. Right? Now the advantage of this thing, that is, you write interface name equals to new class name. I'll just explain you. I can write WebDriver, say driver equals to null. WebDriver is the interface. Okay, Firefox driver, iDriver, Chrome driver are the drivers, various drivers. If I write over here driver equals to new Firefox driver, this will start pointing towards the Firefox driver object. If I write over here driver equals to new Chrome driver, it will start pointing towards the Chrome driver object. So you can dynamically move this to Chrome driver or Firefox driver as per the kind of browser on which you want to test. Okay, for example, I write over here string browser type equals to Mozilla. Right now I am just hard coding this Mozilla over here. But practically when you do projects, you read this from an Excel file or an XML file or a properties file. That is the kind of browser you want to test on. Fine. There's a question being asked. So you move, yes, I move this between different classes, between the objects of different classes. Okay, hold on, I'll tell you. You'll come to know the real meaning of this, right? You decide the browser type. That is, the browser type is Mozilla. I am hard coding this, but generally we read it from some external file. Okay, suppose the requirement is that there is an Excel file in which I have written the browser type. In the Excel file, I have written the information in my data that this is my browser on which I am going to do the testing. Fine. For example, hold on. This is the test case. Okay. Anyways, suppose you have a browser column over here, and inside this I write Mozilla. Fine. So you read this value over here in the code. Okay. Then you write if browser type is equal to Mozilla, then make driver point towards new Firefox driver. Else, if browser type is equal to Chrome. Fine. If the browser type is equal to Chrome, then for Chrome we saw yesterday that you had to write this code. You need to set the system property, and after that point the driver towards the new Chrome driver object. Or else, if the driver is equal to IE, fine. Then for IE we saw that you have to set the protected mode. Hope so you have done it, right? After that you have to write this line, and you write over here driver equals to new Internet Explorer driver. So depending on the browser type, you dynamically point the driver to that particular browser, and after that you can write the command driver dot get. Get function will take you to a URL, say http yahoo.com. After that all the functions will remain same because all the three classes are implementing the WebDriver interface. So if driver is pointing towards Firefox driver, then get function of Firefox driver will be called. If driver is pointing towards Chrome driver, then get of Chrome driver will be called. But the function names will remain same. Right? If I write over here driver dot quit, so this will close the browser which has opened. Because the functions in all the three types of drivers, they are same as they are implementing the same interface. I am pointing the interface reference dynamically to a particular driver. Okay, so when you run this, this will open up Mozilla, navigate to a site, and it will close the browser. Hold on. You see that? and it closes the browser, right? If I change it to Chrome, this will work in Chrome now. This will open up Chrome, go to Yahoo website and close Chrome, right? There's a question being asked, can you explain objects in a class? That's what I did yesterday, right? Object is like the instance of the class. Okay. You can, I can't get your question, Anju, exactly what you want. I'm not able to get your question. Can you explain objects in class? I'm not able to get your question. How will you determine the browser between all the browsers that we have if we don't hard code the browser? You have to do that. You have to put the values over here. You have to know which type of browser you want to test on, right? Okay, you have to have the browser installed on your system. Okay, without that you cannot do it, right? When you say different objects in a class by an example, Anju, can you unmute yourself and ask the question? You can go to participants tab and you can unmute yourself. Rather, I have unmuted you. If you have a mic, you can talk and you can just say what you want to say because I'm not able to understand your question, right? Out here, what I'm doing is I am dynamically creating the object. Depending on the browser I want to test on, okay, I am pointing the driver to that particular object. Fine. For example, if I want I, then I'm making the driver which was pointing towards nothing in the beginning. I'm making it point towards new Internet Explorer driver. Fine. If I change the browser type over here, dynamically I can point the driver to the kind of class or to the kind of driver which I want. Fine. When you write over here, this thing is successful only because of this kind of concept in which you write interface reference equals to new class which is implementing the interface. Okay, right? So this is the actual way in which we do stuff. Okay, interface reference equals to new class. With this, you can refer the objects, refer the functions in the class which are coming up from the interface. Okay, I hope this is clear now. Fine. Any questions from anybody? Any questions? Can you explain again the use of Excel instead of hard coding? Look, in the Excel, what we do is we keep the browser type. For example, I'll keep something like the browser username password. We will keep the data like this. Okay, browser Mozilla, browser Chrome, and browser IE. So you suppose this is the username passwords. So I have to execute this test case. Suppose a particular test case with these three sets of data. Okay, fine. So first set should be executed with Mozilla, second with Chrome, and third with IE. Okay. So what we do is we read the value of this column, and then we put a condition like this, and then navigate to a particular website. Okay. You got it, Kumar? Right. So that's what we do. That's how I dynamically execute the code. Yes, driver equals to null means it is not pointing towards anything. Yes. Okay. Any other question? Anything else? Okay, nothing. Right. Now after this, after you navigate to yahoo.com, what you need to do is that you need to identify various components on the page and work with them. Okay. Now please remember one thing, that technically if you are on a web page, right? Say I am on a web page like in.rediff.com. Fine. Then everything on this web page technically is known as an object. This link is an object. This button is also an object, right? If you ever hear that automation guys, they talk to each other, they'll talk like this only, that is, the object is not being identified or object is not found. Fine. Technically everything is an object. All right. Now thing is that for the object, it is like, how do I explain you? In only Selenium, okay, in only Selenium, we also call it as a web element. Don't confuse this with web element of QTP. In Selenium, technically everything is also known as a web element. This image is a web element. This button is a web element, and this link is a web element. Okay, and in the Selenium documentation, there is an interface known as web element. If you look at this interface, then this interface has got generic functions which you can do with any element or any object on the page. For example, click, clear, right, get size, get location, is displayed, submit, fine, get text, get the visible text, fine. Some of the functions would be clear to you, some of these would not be clear to you as of now, but understand one thing, that this web element interface, right, represents an HTML element, represents a general component on your web page. Okay, and when you have to work with this web element interface, or when you have to work on a web page, you have to interact with any element on the page, you end up using this interface only. Okay, right. I'll stop here. I need a lot of time. I need at least 30-40 minutes to explain this in detail. I don't want to start it today. Fine. Meanwhile, anybody having any questions, just remember one thing right now, that web element is an interface, right, which represents a generic element on the page. If there is a login required for a web page, how can you use Excel to point to the login I and then use different browser to other tests? Yeah, we don't want it. It's up to you. Suppose you just want the login to be there with Mozilla, you just make it with Mozilla. Look, Kumar, these kind of questions, right, they will be clear to you as I proceed, right? When I take up the project and all, these kinds of practical questions will be clear to you. Right now, I'm just focusing on the basics. Okay, right? Just hold on, just be with me. As you proceed with the course, you will come to know everything. There are things which even if I want right now, I cannot discuss because half the people will not understand it, right? Yes, we need to write the script. Srinivas, we need to write the script which will read the data from the Excel file into our Eclipse. Selenium is not like QTP. In QTP, you have got data table and all that stuff in which you can easily get the data. But in Selenium, there is nothing like that. Okay. In Selenium, you have to write all your code yourself only. Fine. In a web page, you mentioned that the link or input box or objects. Then what is the class? No, Ram, you are getting confused. Okay, technically in automation, I'm not talking about Selenium. Technically, generally in automation, everything on a web page is known as a object. Okay, in Selenium, we categorize objects as web elements as well. We call them web elements as well. That's it. right? There is no class. This is an interface, web element. This represents all the elements on a page or all the objects on the page. Whatever you say, web element or an object, it is the same thing. But in Selenium, we categorize the objects with the help of web element. Okay, yeah, web element is equal to object in Selenium, yes. Because many times people confuse this web element with web element in QTP. If you have actually seen QTP or worked on QTP, there is web element in QTP as well, which is very different from the web element in Selenium. So I don't confuse this with that. This web element means a generic object on a page. It can be a link, it can be a button, it can be anything. Okay. Is it more theory questions or based on practical usage? Look, everything is practical over here. Nothing will be theoretical in interviews. Okay, they'll ask you what is the architecture of WebDriver. Looks like a theoretical question, but it's actually a very practical question. WebDriver is an interface. Okay, all these classes they are implementing the interface. Web element is again an interface, which is representing a generic component on the web page. Okay, so questions might look theoretical to you, but in the end they are very practical. Okay, fine. Look, I'm going to upload these Java files at a particular location on my server, and I'll share it to you. So share it with you.